this time around, as we go right into game number 2, they're going to stick with the bans. Again, the bans were very good. I like these targeted bans versus Team Liquid. I think that is correct. It's just that, you know, APA able to pull out the Tristana once again and had a really good game. Still just relying on their experience from last year over and over using that exact, basically, comp.
And for KC, as was echoed on the desk as well, I would love to see just something that feels a lot easier to play out. I think for a lot of these players, right, Vladi and Caliste both have had an incredible split, but putting them in a type of composition that I think is easy to execute, just getting them into a position of comfort, because it's not really about what's the level of game, it's about are you feeling confident, right? Are you actually able to go for the plays that you need to go for? Which domestically they very clearly did, but a game like that I think can really get into your head, because it really felt like starting minute 1, TL was running the show.
Yeah, the things that carry over to game 2 are all mental, right?
Yeah,
it's 100%. It's like confidence on TL's side, and then if you're picking out moments that would leave an impact on KC players, you know, it's probably the counter that CoreJJ set up on Fog of War and UmTi using himself as bait on red buff. You know, those types of plays can sometimes, you know, carry over to the next game where you second guess, or maybe you're way more cautious than you would be in going to check vision or go for plays. So we'll have to see how they rebound as far as the gameplay in the actual games, but let's see about the actual draft here. First pick this time around.
Rumble up and available, the difference from the previous bans on the side of TL, leaving it open, potentially trying to set them up for another aggressive pick they're prepared for. Instead, they're willing to concede it on the side of Casey, going for Azir, which I think points to the adaptation that you were mentioning earlier, Chronicler, that we've been talking about, Kobe, which is simpler, right? You have that late game team fighting, you have that stable carry force in the mid lane. 4 games from Vladi on the pick this year so far.
Do you think that picking an Azir early, the benefit is that it's really hard to completely shut this champion down, but there's definitely some game plans you can go for that punish his relative lack of early pressure. As the Ambessa comes through again, no surprise, Ambessa and Cassante are still going to be very relevant, I think, despite the nerf. You saw them both getting banned in game number 1. And for TL, I would expect another jungler pickup. Are a lot of different ways you can go towards. I think whenever I see an Azir as well,
Sejuani maybe?
Yeah, could be.
Pair with Ambessa pretty well.
Poppy value also goes up massively whenever I see an Azir. I think that is a strong combo. And Poppy, I think, is a top tier champion with just the Ambessa alone locked in. But instead, it's going to be the prioritization for Yeon. And after last game, you know what? We're going to be on board with it, because he had a crazy game on the Varus. And Ashe is, I think, in a very similar spot in terms of power level, particularly in Pro.
And that reliable kind of way to kick off a fight in the form of the Crystal Arrow, if you can get the follow-up as well coming in from the Ambessa, it's a solid pick overall, historically lane dominant, again, buffed on the patch before this one. So overall, a stronger pick than she was if you had seen her in your domestic playoffs.
And there's also now still the opportunity to pick Sejuani with this, right? As, maybe some...
The Camille into it.
Yeah. Ooh, that's going to be interesting.
Do they want to lock Sejuani now at this point?
I would actually love it, because I think Sejuani is incredibly strong. You put UmTi on a tank again, and the 1-2 of Ashe Sejuani I think is really hard to play into. Might force another Braum ban for you as well, to not end up playing into that. And there it is, does get picked up. And that 2v2 of the Camille and the Sejuani is going to be a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, very, very strong. Things a good steal away for them, though. It is going to mean that TL will get to throw a bunch of extra 80 carry bans, so they're going to push Caliste even further down. The analyst S was talking about hoping to get a better bot lane matchup. Interesting, Skarner got another round of nerfs on this patch. Yep. And a lot of pros were talking about that finally being what was going to push them off, but UmTi has been one of our strongest Skarner enjoyers. He, by the way, even had a long history on pre-rework Skarner, so he's been a...
Yeah, he did.
You know quite well. He's been a Skarner enjoyer in multiple iterations, so he is never going to let go of this champion, no matter how many nerfs seemingly they throw at it.
Yep, again, it's 2 seconds longer on the E cooldown, so a little bit more time needed before you can regank or redive, and a little bit less damage and slow coming through on the Q. But now we enter the second phase. These are the 80 carry targeted bans that you mentioned previously. And, you know, credit to TL for just responding with a tank of their own, even if it's nerfed. I think the other option would have been an aggressive AP farming jungler like Lilia that UmTi had brought in the past, but it's a volatile pick, and I think their strategy of keeping it simple has paid off so far.
I would expect another Braum ban here, because I think you do want to both take that away here, because if you don't pick it up for TL on 4, I think it's going to be feeling really good for KC. But then the problem is that if you do blind Braum, you're going to be in a rough position. Can of course save it to last, but I think counter pick for support is going to be maybe tough to get value out of, because I know that they really like CoreJJ on specifically engaged. But it's going to be the Jhin instead, though, as mid lane pool is getting pinched by KC, AD carry pool getting pinched by TL.
And Jhin, of course, that kind of utility pick to support the options. The Braum ban that you mentioned, already there. Caliste has pulled out the Jhin twice, has found 2 wins on it, but not going to be an option this time around. So is going to have to dig deeper into that pool, as yet another APA special comes to the surface. This time, the Aurelion Sol.
All right, like it this time around. The stacking here for APA, as you said, this was one of the champions that people did classify him. I mean, people classified him as a lot of one-tricks, which is really weird have so many one-trick champions.
You only play 5 champions now. It's like, I think that's called a champion pool at that point.
The point is, this is, aside from the Ambessa for Impact, this is very comfort for Team Liquid, and we instantly see the MF Leona combination here, Wombo from KC as their response.
And this is a big adaptation for KC. There are so many games where it was Caliste on a hyper carry to really step up, and the MF is that different role. MF is not usually the center of attention in these style of compositions. It's going to be much more about the top side of the map, and the question is, how does Core respond to this? Does he want to try and fight in the 2v2, or does he just want to get out of that lane and get to the top side of the map?
I'm kind of wondering if they want to go for something like a Renata here. Gonna be okay, what?
This is a CoreJJ favorite.
I could not be further off the mark, because if you look at the KC comp, it's going to be very straightforward. You're going to dive in with your Camille, with your Sejuani, with your Azir, and then you're going to layer the CC and the Misfortune ult on top instead. And after last game, CoreJJ going again for a pick that has a lot of aggressive agency, I think, is something that makes sense. I do feel like the TL comp this time around, though, individually, I'm like, okay, all of that makes sense. And then you look at the comp as a whole, and I don't think it is nearly the same level of cohesion it has in the previous game.
And also, just as an LEC caster, I get nervous when I see MF, and I get doubly nervous when there's an MF who's going to ult, and in that process will stun herself to line up for the Ambessa, the Pantheon who can immediately just point and click her down. This is going to be such a tough...
And the Aurelion Sol star.
And the Aurelion Sol star. This is going to be such a hard game for Caliste, but as we mentioned earlier, he's not necessarily the center of attention in this composition.
This is the main point that I was going to bring up, was, again, referring to delaying your AD carry pick so far and then getting kind of pushed down to this tier where, like, the other ones you're looking at would be kind of hard too, where it's like Zeri, Caitlyn, Kaisa or something like that are kind of around there, maybe like a Zai or something, but like if you're playing MF in this and you're standing still, that is really, really, really hard to play with so many things going to be able to get lined up with these long range from TL. The asteroid comes down on your head, it's definitely going to be difficult to pull that off. But as you said, you know, if they can get a Camille to a 2-item power spike, like the side lane prowess there could be massive. And with the Sejuani synergy that we're kind of highlighting really early on, maybe they can get some skirmishing going.
I want to see that duo of Sejuani Leona run the map, right? We saw very early on what happened when TL got to play their game. I think Targamas and Yike are going to have to throw them off this time around.
Here we are. It's only the first best of 3, but for both regions it feels like the most important best of 3 in TL.
And honestly, I do want 3 games, because we are probably only going to get one best of 3 of this. I want 3 games. I'm willing to take a hit, Dracos, so that we can get a full 3 out of this.
I think my pride and ego, and the pride and ego of everyone in my region, appreciates your gesture. And is also slightly offended. Of course we're going to win. Of course we bounce back.
All right, well, defensive ward to see the invade. Again, remember last time it started out with UmTi on vision going for steal on the rafters. This time around, UmTi is not there with the rest of the team. He is over in the other side lane brush on mid.
Minions have spawned.
See what the angle is here. 2 members hovering around for both sides. EPA maybe hoping to just get a free stack. Already starting to feel that tension. Again, the bot lane 2v2, despite how explosive the top side of the map can be, is still somewhere where we're going to have to look. Just because this Pantheon is here, Core already looking to get brush control. This Pantheon level 1, so oppressive, such a difficult champion to handle in the early levels of the game.
Yeah, it was a really nice set of changes to Pantheon. by the way, when they added the health ratios. Like, because you can just get so tanky, even from the support role here. CoreJJ already with some good harassment. Yeon as well, nicely using the brushes here. They're dodging in, getting some very good harassment.
Caliste can't even get close enough to drop down a ward, and even if he could place at this point, the sweeper's already back up for Core.
This is the reason the whole time coming into the tournament, we were highlighting TL's bottom lane and throwing so many accolades to them. Yeon and CoreJJ have been so good, of course, here with the with Ashe Pantheon, two of their favorites. Definitely doing a good job getting the early lane prio and a lot of harassment down there, even though CoreJJ does soak a tower shot for this.
Yeah, that's not ideal, but he'll still be fine. Even with MF obviously being quite strong, has PTA and made decent use with the double tap as well, alternating between the two targets. The level 1 of Leona compared to Pantheon is just night and day. As Canna is going to be looking for short trades, particularly when his shield is up, just to get the most out of Camille. Camille is one of those champions with a very, very strong early, and then you kind of fall off until you hit some of your breakpoints, level 6, and then the previously mentioned 2-item power spike, where she just turns into an absolute demon.
Still some trading in mid lane. Top lane pressure, as you mentioned, because of the Camille early levels, is going to feel really good. Impact at level 6 once he starts to get some of that healing. Feel a bit better in those trades. As Yike still pathing towards the bottom side of the map. Don't know if he's going to try to go for a gank here as CoreJJ smartly backing in the brush, taking advantage of what we mentioned in the first game, which is this uncertainty from the side of KC. Are they going to feel confident to step up and face check these brushes, knowing that there could just be a Pantheon there waiting for them?
And as Pantheon support, you always want to hide your position. I mean, that's kind of basic. Everybody wants to hide their positions whenever possible, but Pantheon, of course, you know, as the game goes later on, does have the extra mobility from Ultimate to be able to make those cross-map plays too. So this is where CoreJJ really excels. That's why it is one of his favorite champs. You know, has so much gank potential to link up with your jungler. Has like map-wide presence as well as lane presence.
And for now, just gets to lock this 2v2 on the bottom side of the map. Caliste can never be left alone here. Yeon holding on to the advantage. Caliste and Targamas trying to hold this wave, trying not to let it crash. But Core potentially ready to start a fight.
Can I cancel the back? Doesn't look like it. We did see Impact walk over, but Canna's a bit further into fog, does get the ward. So they'll be able to track UmTi. Yike is really far behind in jungle tempo though. He just finished the crab, cleared a camp less. I think it's because he pathed the bot to cover for what might have been a dive because his bot lane was getting chunked so much. But it means that UmTi just got the back in and will now just be able to full clear. Yike sitting on boots and just a ruby crystal, I think, wants to get back as soon as he can as well.
Yeah, but both teams basically have full jungle info. Now we're going to even get another confirmation from Impact, but they had also used the previous hawk shot. They knew that Yike was also a top-down start, 100%. So both junglers and both teams very well aware, because KC got some very nice deep wards, as you could see, that were both on Krugs as well as Raptor.
No TP left for APA. Vladi just going to full commit to the trade here. Will he flash and try to go for... Oh, no, and he just gets him! APA sticks around far too long, not respecting the damage Vladi could bring to the table.
And Vladi, in game number 1, I think it was a tough one to play out. We didn't quite see him in the same explosive manner that we wanted to, but in this game 2, immediately, not only gets the flash, but gets the solo bolo as well.
Yeah, I saw those signs in the audience. The Greek god, Vladi here. I mean, APA, of course, is just playing Aurelion Sol. He wants every last little minion. And so, as you said, just stayed away around too long. Vladi here has the damage. Knows he can flash to finish it off bottom lane, though. Right back at it.
Caliste backing up, a little bit more damage coming, but Yike on the way in. Targamas trying to extend the trade. Cleanse now used from Yeon, but Ignite ticking on Caliste. Is forced to use a cleanse of his own, though. If Core can find the re-engage, might be able to get something. Spear goes a little bit wide on the empowered spear shot. So both sides back away, but it's Yike who's forced to cover.
Okay, so cleanse down makes it a little bit more vulnerable. Meanwhile, on the top side, just trying to trade and finish up these extra minions as well. I mean, they know as that UmTi cleared down to the bottom side. That's why they didn't want to over chase on the side of KC in their attempts for the bot side play. But it also means they probably very well know that they are ceding dragon control.
Still here. Caliste doesn't have cleanse.
No ignite.
Probably doesn't have the burst. Can't really go in 1v2, but
Ashe is coming. Targamas might be the one they catch out. Instantly turns onto Caliste. They're trying to body block Caliste, forced to flash away. Core. Powered spear shot just a few seconds, but for now, just happy to zone them off.
That's what you were talking about. He was hidden. They didn't know.
Exactly. Always try and hide your positioning there. One of the core tenets of playing this. Meanwhile, they do get the dragon. Plus now Caliste being chunked so low. Yike is here hovering. And UmTi,
Low health bar ticks over to 5. Yike forced to be here. They don't have good information on UmTi, so need to cover for the potential dive.
UmTi's going to get a 6 first. I believe he got his 6 there off Crab.
And start to walk in. Q through, Caliste. Blinking health bar, but holding on, clearing the wave big here, going to deny the dive, but they need to get the hell out. They cannot stick around any longer. Does TL want a handshake on the back or push one more wave?
And it feels reminiscent of the previous game where Canna, because of the tracking of UmTi, has been able to build a lead in the 1v1, doing great again. They're into impact, but the bot lane is suffering yet again. Yeon and CoreJJ have just been extremely oppressive, and really it's just that kill that Vladi was able to get alone that makes up the small gold lead that we have here. I do think this game is very different when we talk about the scaling. This time around, KC don't have nearly the same level of clock that they did in the previous one, but it is interesting to note that the laning matchups go basically exactly the same, even though the champions are completely different.
All right, UmTi slipping into the back of the pit here as well. At least is going to be able to get one before some KC members come to check.
Already took the Drake, would love to get all 3 for the additional stack towards the feats, but very likely that KC will contest and take at least 1 away.
To engage onto the Skarner though, and I think they're also
Level
like,
6.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got Ashe in mid lane, so like there's no way, right? MF is on bot side.
UmTi doesn't want to overcommit.
Okay, so
happy to have 2.
Ashe already starting to walk back from mid towards bottom as Caliste pushes this last cannon in. So it is going to drop at least the cannon here as payment.
Things back as the Warden lane does spot them out. Spotting them walk away, spotting the recall as well. So does give a lot of freedom for Yeon to just pick up that wave. Canna and Impact continuing to trade on the top side, but for the first time this game, it feels like with the wave bouncing back, Canna not quite as confident to step forward, but now
UmTi is shadowing.
Shot.
They don't know.
Wall dive, the ulti, UmTi already here. Canna knocked back to the wall and ulti of his own. Interrupts crucially the public execution. Impact trying to Drake Hound step away. UmTi trying to fight in the 2v1. Impact, can he get involved? The Sundering Slam does not hit. That's big. UmTi running out of mana. Canna trying to keep it going. The hook shot, the wall dive, the TP in, but it might be too late. Now it's Yike trying to cover. APA ready to fly over, ready to finish the kill if he can. The flash out from Yike. The feat of warfare claimed by KC, but Canna surely goes down here. Just the edge. APA's got nowhere to go. Goes in, the tack sweep, the stun. I don't think he's going to be able to finish it. Canna! And Yike taking on the entire top side of TL.
Oh, KC outplayed the entire top side of the map. Wait, but the bottom lane for TL. But the bottom lane for TL is saying, what is going on up there, guys?
Literally could not have gone worse. Both flashes invested. And everyone goes down.
I'll tell you what happened here.
invested as well.
UmTi just miscalculated the distance here to the wall. He figured he was going to get the E wall stun right there. It barely does not, so Canna's able to flash out. And that breaks his full combo. That means his ult does not hit, and they're able to get the advantage in the 2v2. Then I would also say that Impact and UmTi did not wait enough for APA to get there. So Canna's able to go back in, uses his passive shield, uses his grass proc.
This feels so bad for APA.
Yeah, honestly though, for KC, I did say at the beginning of the game, I was like, you know what? I want to get the 3rd game. I want to get the full length out of this series. This right here, this is going to do so much for the KC confidence. That is massive to get the full 3 kills up there.
And this is what you mentioned as well, Mao. You talked about wanting that Sejuani to get involved, get active on the map. Already a significantly better game 2 than it was in game 1 for Yike. Targamas getting out of lane as well. Might have to be careful here with the Skarner, but KC in a much better spot as we head into the mid game.
And again, going back to game 1, this would have felt like a necessity. Now, that's a Camille. If that Camille is the type of champion that can just completely take over, not only in side lane the way that we saw with the Jace, but her carry potential in late game team fights is absolutely disgustingly strong. Huge lead for Canna. Yike also having a great redemption moment after what was an incredibly rough first game. And they go.
Yike forced the all-will dash away, getting away from APA's ult as well. Now it's Core who's been caught out. Does use the E, the Aegis assault, but low blinking health bar. Yeon flashing, bit of a split in damage, but Vladi is there in time. Caliste finding the kill. TL thought they had the collapse, but weren't quick enough on getting it done.
And UmTi doesn't find anyone with the ult. I don't even know if it would have mattered. Yeah, would it have been a difference maker? Probably not. And to me, the core thing, as we saw, even in the topside play, right? Like the nerfs to Skarner were very substantial nerfs to his Q damage, which is one of the things that made him feel so oppressive. You got so much additional damage out of that over the course of the whole duration. And then it's a Soul. Like the champion just realistically, especially since the changes they did so that you can't quite tap quite as oppressively, just doesn't feel like he gets online until very late into the game.
Yeah, the teleport that early into the game, like the channel time to get up there is so long, you know.
As well.
And TL they wanted to go back in on the timer of Impact Shield when that came up. But anyways, I think that the repercussions of that are not just the kills. Like, APA also stopped farming during that time, which is one of the big hits to Aurelion Sol as well. Didn't get to stack as much during it either. So KC are in such a commanding position. This allows them to like basically retake full control of all neutral objectives at the moment too. We just saw in the last skirmish there, being able to avoid those 2 Team Liquid ultimates. Now, KC get to move in with priority.
Lock up there, Targamas.
He's got 2 members behind him.
Aftershock does get the flash out, trading it for the ulti. APA don't think he can recommit here, but Core is on the way, and Core does have access to his ulti. 15-20 seconds, don't think he's going to be able to get there in time. So KC happy to have just a few more plates, and really Vladi the center of attention this time. Not just Canna on the top side, Vladi as well, getting so much money in these exchanges, finds a solo kill in mid lane, gets a bit more damage down on the top side as well.
Vladi's a self-made man. You know, he built this lead for himself. As we take another look here, attempted to try and get Yike, but instead UmTi and APA whiff. They turn onto Core, and all the damage comes down before he actually gets to use his E, so doesn't really get anything out of it.
Ulti in, manages to connect. Q into the ulti on, nowhere to go, trying to get a bit more damage down, but Yike finding another one.
What a redemption game for Yike here. Yike coming back in a huge way on this Sejuani. That previous replay that they just showed as well, you know, TL must have had missed comms on his cooldown for Q, because the Sejuani was just able to dash away from that entire thing and turns it all around. And then he comes mid. Beautiful ultimate there from Yike to grab another one. And KC, look at that giant blue mountain that is growing.
And that is another run-up effect of that earlier play where they tried to get Yike and didn't, because that's where Yeon lost his summoners. Otherwise, if he has at least cleanse, maybe he lives there. If just barely, would have still been rough, but instead, KC, TL needed a good amount of time, which I think with the comp made sense, but KC is on the verge of just completely running them over, because they can just keep forcing engages, right? Their engage potential is crazy. The prio that they have allows them to just take objective after objective, and TL, I have a tough time seeing, unless they can somehow play around Yeon, who feels like he's the only strong member on the team right now, and even he's getting punished.
And it's just such a contrast to game 1. They still had the dominance in the early bot lane 2v2, but the composition from the side of KC just much more powerful in those early skirmishes. The Sejuani doing much, much more than the Vi, and now KC looking much more confident with a significant advantage, and it's just so difficult for TL. They have pick potential, they have Ashe, they have the scaling of APA, but it's just going to be a much harder game to play out.
Yeah, I mean, KC are just able to snowball so much with the victory on top side to the first play. Because the TL were not able to get their Skarner stunned into the wall to chain into ultimate and everything. Now it's going to be a point where we have constant watch on those side lanes, as UmTi does go for a pick.
Chains it into the ult. Yeon here as well. Who are they going to give the kill to? The answer is APA. Happy to have a few extra stacks, and a nice pick for TL. Good use of their composition.
And the reason they're kind of outnumbered there, Sejuani's up on top side, making the lane gank attempt onto Impact here. He was trying to play to Canna. Obviously the very powerful Camille that they've built up already, but Impact's under tower and does not give them a target.
Full bot side control, but you can see a very different story in the match card lane economy snapshot. Full gold leads for the top side. Bot lane still close. Targamas and Caliste, I think, benefiting from some of the topside successes. Now it's Vladi in trouble. Arrow dashed away from clean from Vladi. Pushed back as well. But now he's been locked up. Now he's been CC'd, and surely there's no way out, but he might take one with him. Vladi manages to find the 1-for-1, and that's the cue for Canna to go all in on the Impact. A few extra autos. Impact trying to dash out to safety. The fight continuing on the bot side is Targamas and Yike trying to finish off UmTi as well. An extra ulti, locking up Core. In comes Caliste from the side, strutting his way down to the bottom lane just in time to try and find the kill. The donation there, TL in the extended play, getting everything taken away.
The whole map, Dracos, the whole map. KC takes over. Yike with the no-look Sejuani ultimate over his shoulder to also ensure that they get the extra kill. And Canna says, I didn't even need that gank. I'll just do it myself up here to finish off the kill onto Impact. And Impact actually the one to ult there to start it off.
Yeah, because I think Khan was looking for the TP towards bot side.
Yes, yeah.
which is why Impact went for the cancel. But the moment that they see Skarner, he also knows, like, I don't have to care. Like, I absolutely can bop him as the flash.
The flash follow.
Hook shot. Beautifully done there by Canna.
This dodge.
And that dodge, already great. UmTi doesn't actually hit. And then the fact that Vladi gets this counter kill means that so much of the damage isn't available, right? Otherwise, if there was still an Ace here, could have been good. And the fact that CoreJJ and UmTi try to push out the wave as well, as the bad news is not done.
Caught out on the side lane, just cannot match the 1-for-1 DPS. Yike isn't even needed, but he's happy to steal the kill. But now it's going to be Core who's in trouble. Pushed away, already forced to use the Aegis Assault. One more auto might lock him up. Sidestep comes in from Yeon, but now he's being pushed back in the mid lane. Fights on multiple fronts. KC, complete dominance here as UmTi tries to get something back. Ulti there, they will kill Targamas, but they lose a lot on the bottom side. Yike not done, wanting to finish the kill, and Yeon the flash in! Manages to connect with the W as well, and now the tower's gonna fall. UmTi can't do anything.
I do appreciate the commitment of both KC and TL to make this game go by very quickly. As APA gets caught inside, Core comes in, unable to really get anything. As we're not done! We're TPing!
Action-packed!
Vladi running, level 13, how much more time? Impact, can he turn this one back? Enough CC, but there's just too much to lock Impact down. Don't think he's going to be able to get out. APA trying to catch Vladi on the bot lane, but it's the fight in the mid lane. The lockup is there. Caliste on a killing spree. Ulti, the sky's descending! But Vladi will still make the 1-for-1 happen!
Vladi's always good for one. That's what I've learned. Be careful if you send too many that way. Honestly, are we going to keep up the action?
Yike. Continuing.
We are.
Hard steal.
We are.
Core running. Already used the Aegis Assault. Now Yeon's going to be forced to cover. Will the slow be enough? Caliste.
Oh.
Yike body blocks
Okay.
it. Should blast cone out. And the thing is just TL have not been able to slow down the game for the last 3 minutes, and every single play has been working out for KC. And the composure that was so good for them, the discipline that was so good for them in game one, just hasn't been an option because of the massive early lead that KC got.
Yeah, I mean, game one, very one-sided for TL side. Game two, extremely one-sided for KC side, which means if we do go towards our game three, then we're going to have an even up as well as far as the mental goes there too. This is the one that TL were able to get back, but then as you said, Yike's able to force the play through. Again, the map is kind of in this state because they keep getting these individual plays.
And I imagine that maybe they thought that Vladi was pathing top based on the way that UmTi E'd. APA just doesn't really have a lot of damage. That's the empowered ult as well, by the way. Right? Like that's not just any tool. That's going to take a long time to farm back up. And I think that TL also very well know you got a shutdown, so like that's technically a net positive. But when you start to talk about plays like that, I do think you kind of know the game is in a rough state. Level leads across the board here for KC. Gold lead, nigh insurmountable. And again, KC's comp skills extremely well, so it's not like they even had to get this lead.
Canna already has the 2 items, Spike, that
yep.
we were talking about. So Canna is the target, actually.
Lockdown there. Can he get the hookshot wall dive? The chain CC not quite perfect as the ulti comes in, but the knockback to the wall could be enough. Tack sweep, a lot of sustain, but Canna still running. Should just fall here. They're going to try to donate the kill to APA. Give him a few more stacks. Canna really nowhere to go. The hookshot, the wall dive will fall to the tower, and the kill will be given over to UmTi.
Okay, in trade is going to be the Rift Herald on the other side.
Played in. Vladi now chasing. Ulti there as well. Caliste coming in. Impact likely to fall. Might try to use Caliste as an escape route, but it's just not going to happen. Ruinous Atacon spawning, and they might just instantly transition to it on the top side from KC as APA is visible bot lane.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the impact on Ambessa has not really been it. Right now, TL, they just need to make cross-map plays or try and make some cross-map plays, get some objective bounty shutdowns, because that Otacon is for sure gone. That is KC Otacon.
I think the good news is
they can't get the mid one, but they can just rotate down towards APA and try and get that objective bounty on bottom side.
Okay, what's
trying to
the
clear out.
good news, Dracos? I'm very, because I'm looking for angles, finding none. So I'm very curious.
This is the lots of flowers Otacon,
yeah?
not the fake GA Otacon. Which I think is a silver lining.
Okay, no,
is that silver lining? Because this one has a lot of power.
They're gonna be up 2 levels now.
Flower power is real.
Yeah.
Those stats, that experience.
Look, I'm trying, guys.
I don't want your pity, okay?
Okay, fine.
Don't give me pity.
Look, all I'm going to say is today has been an immense roller coaster for any NA or EU fans, right? This is incredibly stressful. As you said, game 1 TL, discipline, cold, calm, collected, punishing KC left and right. This game outplays left and right from KC. It's really feast or famine for both these squads.
I'm particularly impressed with Vladi. Again, I think this early Azir priority is not something that we generally see, even with him playing the champion a decent amount, just because I feel like Azir generally falls a little bit later into drafts, unless he is where he was a few years ago, you know, where he wins every lane and scales and just does everything very well. But he's been paying off immensely. Every single attempt from TL to like claw their way back in this game with a desperate play, he's answered with a 1-for-1. Had the early solo photo as well.
He solo killed APA 3 times.
I mean, he's 3 levels up right now.
Like, this is terrifying. That's a lot of flower power, to your point earlier. He kind of has a luxury Zhonya's because he's so far ahead in terms of overall gold. Now can be even more aggressive on the playmaking. And clearly the call from KC is they want to end this game fast. Aggression on the top side. Little bit of lockup onto Impact, but happy to just grab this tier 2. Also have Grubs spawning in their favor, 4-2 the score there, and Caliste taking mid lane.
We're coming up on 10K.
I mean, TL need time, but they just do not have it. Ulti's going wide, maybe an opportunity for TL to try and punish. Ulti connecting on the top side from Yeon, but Yeon really can't get in range. This is not the lethality Varus. Ashe needs time to dish out that damage. Sustained push still here. KC looking to close this one out fast. 22 minutes in, breaking open the base, cracking yet another tower. Baron not even up yet. Can TL punish? Find the overextend. No, the public execution going wide. That's disastrous for TL. Canna starting to back up. Yeon starting to poke. Turn back in. Vladi trying to make a play. Quick flashes out from the side of TL. Looking to punish Vladi. Looking to get that shutdown. Vladi going golden. That's the Zhonya's gone. Impact locked up. The chain CC is there, but Caliste is untouched. Vladi untouched. Trying to find the end to this game. KC biting back in game 2. TL left looking shell shock as the boys in blue strike back and bring us to match point.
And if they weren't as far behind, that might have been the Hail Mary play that extended the game, but they just didn't have the damage. Even though they found the back, Canna was literally two-tapping people with that empowered Q, so far ahead so early on, and those faces, those are earned. Yike in particular going from an absolute shocker of a game on the Vi to being everywhere, winning multiple of his lanes, and making the game look, frankly, pretty easy for KC.
Yeah, really, really big victory in that 3v3 up on the top. Actually, it was even 2v3.
Yeah. Look, I'm not going to say that doesn't feel good, but I'm still sweating for game 3. Me and Kobe will be sweating, and while we're doing that, take a chance to take a break. We'll be back in a few minutes.